and then we'll go to Gustavo and then Ben.
Yeah, Tony, just in the middle innings today with the pitching, what kind of went wrong? It seemed like a lot of 2-out runs, 2-out hits, and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think, from my vantage point, I saw some pitches kind of get floated or the opposite of throwing them with conviction, which I think I shared with you guys or at some point on media. We kind of talk about the ball will do what you tell it to do. And if you don't throw the thing with conviction, you're usually going to pay the piper. And when we're facing a talented team, the odds of that happening go up. But, the whole thing for Blade was just a little bit, off the rails for whatever reason today. It just kind of seemed off for him. And I think we would have been better served if we just wouldn't have sent him back out there in the fourth. I think managing that situation a little better could have helped the guys who followed him and really him be in a better position for success. And obviously anyone who's been watching us knows we trust him and he's as dynamic as a pitcher as we have. But sometimes you have a day where things aren't clicking. And we were fortunate enough to have a rested bullpen, so maybe could have made a move a little quicker. But, for whatever reason, all the things that we did, either managerial-wise or just player performance-wise, just didn't snap for us today. And the opposite would be said for Vanderbilt. So, they showed up and outperformed us today.
In terms of offense, 4 runs in 4 home runs, what are your thoughts on that? The way you guys hit, out the park today.
Yeah, it would have been nice if somebody was on base. It's crazy to have home runs be frustrating, but if you look at the box score, a little bit of the case. I mean, anyone who says there's strategy to that is kind of crazy. I mean, it just kind of happens how it happens. And really, Fergie, who's been taking better and better swings each of the last really 5 or 6 games, probably could have had 2. We had another one where the wind had died down. If the wind was kind of blowing like it was when Kirby was pitching, I think we would have had another one in there and would have had someone on base when it occurred. Apologies, I can't remember who the hitter was, but yeah, Rucker. But frustrating day overall. I mean, I'm a big believer. I might be the biggest. You make your own breaks. Any of that other stuff is baloney or whatever a clean word is to go with that. They had some balls find holes and things like that, but that's because they had good at-bats and they've got good players. We have good players as well, but we didn't have as good of at-bats and we maybe caught a few less breaks, but that ultimately kind of comes down on our group is going to win or lose as a group, and we just didn't get it done today.
Tony, how would you assess the weekend as a whole? Obviously, the emotional win yesterday, but you don't walk away with the series win. So how would you just assess this weekend?
Insanely valuable. Literally can't put it into words. I'd like to think we don't bow down to any other the programs in our league. But if you look at the College World Series, it's automatic. There's going to be a minimum of 2 SEC teams in there. And if you look at the final, it's almost automatic, at least by percentage. I'm not discounting what other schools can do across the country, but by percentage, there's almost always a team in the final. Since Coach Delmonico's departure here, we haven't been in any of those spots. So you have to kind of grind through some things and get to a regional for the first time in a while and have some guys see that and some guys be a part of a weekend that's hyped up by you guys and incredibly intense throughout the week. You need to experience that and kind of navigate your way through it. I'm not saying, Blade Tidwell, for instance, is a freshman. He's certainly capable of throwing lights out in the SEC tournament, regardless of him being there for the first time or not. But it's very, very valuable for our team to see what's what in a lot of different situations that popped up this weekend. And then the other thing is just special for, Knoxville, in my opinion. Who's to say they didn't help us win that game? Again, I love our players and I got their back, but the fuel that they gave us yesterday and really all weekend long maybe helped us, be competitive in the series or get a win. I don't know, but they certainly deserve some credit. And they're kind of showing our players what's possible around here. And I got to believe when they're in the weight room tomorrow or doing stuff on their own, there's a little extra motivation to make things even better than what they are right now. But this weekend, they were pretty special. I just wish, and I know the players wish, you kind of want to give back, but I said it yesterday, there's kind of a fine line there. plenty of sellout crowds over in that basketball arena, but just because, it's a full crowd doesn't mean Kelly or Rick's team's going to perform to a T. So
I'll go Ryan and then Troy and then Wes.
Seemed like Blade was pitching really well there. Then Bratfield's hit and things kind of started snowballing. From your vantage point, what changed for him in that spot?
I think self-doubt can creep in. I don't know if that's the case at all. I mean, not much conversations yet between me and some of those guys, or normally that would be Frank too. And I'd kind of be the guy he would relay that to. That's for him to kind of navigate through. And each time he's out there, he's learning more and more about himself, how to grind through a rough outing like he did at Alabama, what it's like when, you've got a series sweep on the line, what it's like when it's 1-1. He's done now a couple of times with Georgia and this weekend. So bring on the repetitions for the young man. He's certainly got the physical ability. But I think at times for our players, they've complicated things whenever it hasn't gone as well as it can go for our team this year. And then the other thing, I don't care. It can be anybody on Vanderbilt. It could be on our team, Florida, whoever else. Tennessee Tech is who we play on Tuesday. Self-doubt can creep into your mind a little bit when you're playing this game because there's a lot of time and there's a lot of repetitions. So I think being able to adjust with those emotions and feelings is huge. So again, why it was a valuable weekend, because there was a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings going on.
Tony, 8 of Vanderbilt's 10 runs today came with 2 outs. I guess just from your vantage point, what were they doing to kind of prolong those innings, and how important is it for the guys to realize that you have to shut the door against teams like that when you get the chance?
Right. Yeah. Frustrating. I can tell you that because, you see it and you pay attention to it, but I'm kind of the belief, and I'm not trying to oversimplify here, that, each out counts for an out. So I agree with you, slam the door, or, Nolan Ryan was always charged out there about shutting a team down after you score. But just whenever the ball's in your hand, you got to compete and want to throw each pitch to the best of your ability. And I don't have any doubt that our guys weren't out there competing. Maybe they know they could have done something better approach-wise, but what I saw was, a determined team in the other dugout. Both teams were. Look at how the first inning went was kind of interesting. So both teams definitely showed up. But you saw, I'm looking at their roster, there's 2 guys that stick out in particular. Some guys really stayed to the ball. And, you might find yourself 1-0 taking a hack where you pull off the ball a little bit. But with 2 strikes, it's incredibly important to stay to the ball. And a couple of their guys did that well, and they got rewarded for it.
Yeah, Tony, had a couple of questions. First off, is there any update on Connor? Is that a day-to-day thing, or is there worries that he might be out a little longer?
It's a day-to-day thing, but it's going to be incrementally day-to-day. Right now he's got a soft cast on or some kind of deal on his hand that I guess a skateboarder would wear or whatever. Sorry, I don't know the technicalities, but it'll be get that thing off, get some repetitions, and then get some live action, out on the field, maybe with our guys, and then advance on to playing against somebody else. If it was, late May, maybe you press the issue and put him out there as soon as he says, I'm good to go, and we feel it's the right situation. But for now, it will kind of be a day-to-day, but we got to get to this day before we move on to the next step and eventually have him out there in uniform.
And I guess the other question would be about Beck. He's a guy who I think everyone can see the talent that he's got. What adjustments need to be made there to get him to kind of barrel the ball more consistently and use that frame?
Well, we talked about self-doubt and whatever the opposite of that is, self-image or self-recognition. I'd recommend the young man just looks in the mirror. They're pretty athletic. I think everybody on this deal would agree. And, we won Saturday, so we've got some good athletes too. I don't know that anyone's a better athlete on either team than him. And that's aggressive for me to say. Again, I'm not disrespecting anybody, but the guy could have been a college basketball player. He literally, would mess up our bat tracks or exit velo tracker in the fall. So he's as explosive as anyone too. And he works as hard as anyone as well. So I think just recognizing who he is and go out there and be an athlete. After each, at bat, there's usually 3 or 4 conversations he has. And that's because he just wants to do so well. So, fair play to him on that deal. But at the same time, recognize how athletic you are and go out there and be an athlete. I think that's usually when guys are performing at their best or in the zone or whatever. But for him, keep it simple, be an athlete, capable of great, great things.
All right, we'll take a few more guys. We'll go back to Mike and then back to Ben.
Yeah, Tony, you talked about how valuable this weekend was. What were maybe some of the most valuable situations specifically throughout this weekend that you saw that you think your team can learn from moving forward?
Well, maybe I leave them alone a little too much, but the first thing would be the buildup. We play on Tuesday, which was nice. And I know I answered you guys. I mean, you go on the road and play in that type of game. I mean, the first thing you got to do Wednesday is get your bearings. And then you kind of start to filter things down or build up towards Friday. But the series came with a lot of hype and attention, I assume. Again, I don't try and micromanage them too much, but how you handle that lead in is huge. And then with the way Rocker threw on Friday, it was really tough to judge. But I mean, I thought our guys competed. And then as the series goes on, recognize how draining when you have high emotions going, it can get to you. So you need to do whatever you got to do to make sure you're rested up when it's go time. And then when it's go time, if you feel like the tank is a little bit on E or close to it, you got to find a way to reach down and make sure you're really focused and still bring the same intent that maybe you had in the best situations over the course of the series. So I don't know if that's the cleanest way to answer the question, but I think the big thing is dealing with all that comes with playing in important games. And for us, somebody email me if it looks like our team is not treating each game as being important, but obviously there were some different things, different factors this weekend.
Tony, I asked you how you would assess the weekend. I believe you're right at the halfway point of SEC play. How would you assess where your team is right now and kind of the next steps in order to get to where you all want to be at the end of the season?
Sure. Well, to have a more than a couple handfuls or basically have two handfuls of wins is huge. I mean, in this league, basically people talk about if you go 500, you're going to have a good year. Well, we're greedy for more. We've put ourselves in a good position, record-wise to continue to have success. But my biggest thing is where we're at is April. And we need to keep marching towards May. And I really feel like this can catapult us a little bit in May to handle other situations. And it might even just fuel this week a little bit more for us. Like I said, Tuesday, Tennessee Tech will come in here and hadn't played them in a little bit. And then we'll go on the road, which I think this group kind of has a knack for liking that a little bit. So maybe it'll motivate us this week. But regardless of how this week goes, we need to keep getting better and learning more about ourselves so we're playing our best baseball down the stretch.
All right, last question will go to Madison.
Hey, Coach, with two of college baseball's best pitchers out of the way coming into today's game with Rocker and Leiter throwing on Friday and Saturday, what confidence did that give your team? 2 home runs to open this game, finished with 4 home runs today. What confidence would that give them just knowing that maybe those 2 best pitchers were out of their way for today?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I mean, the first part of my answer would be all you had to do was listen to our crowd when they took Leiter out. I mean, guy's going to make a lot of money and he's pretty good, but our kids battled off him a little bit. And that was one of the biggest celebrations I've heard since I've been in Knoxville when they just took the guy out of the game. So that spoke on it quite a bit. But what we talked about in right field is you can no longer say that we're going to face somebody with better stuff than those 2 guys. Now, this league is loaded, so we could see somebody with equal to, or maybe somebody that wants to debate, yeah, he's a little bit better or whatever. But point I think is kind of well earned by those 2 guys' stuff. And you could also say we face the best base stealer in our league. It ain't practice, it's competition. So we need to be out there to win. But as you reflect on it, in the training that we just kind of went through or the repetitions we went through in this weekend, we can honestly say we faced a couple of the guys that are, premium in their categories. So there should never be a situation popped up where our guys feel like they're not prepared or this is new to them or wow, this guy is on a whole nother level.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you all.